Hey, how's it going, 251? So, last class we talked about more of air power in the conventional sense, and today we're going to go hit on air power in the unconventional sense. So, we're going to be talking about irregular warfare. Just a quick plug, Irregular Warfare 494, awesome class. I took it last semester and it was great. So, without further ado, irregular warfare. So, the first thing we're going to start out with is Mao's 3 stages of protracted warfare. So the 3 stages are strategic defense, strategic stalemate, and strategic offense. Now all 3 of these things are in a linear format for the most part, which we'll get into in a sense. So strategic defense is in essence just survival, keeping your insurgency alive long enough in order for it to gain momentum, in order for you to move to the next phase. We're going to use the American Revolution, even though air power wasn't there, as just sort of our example of these 3 stages. So in the beginning with strategic defense we had when General Washington was always running from the British. Every now and then they would do a little strike, but in essence he was mostly getting his butt kicked by the British and retreating and losing battle after battle. But he kept the army alive and he kept the rebellion alive, allowing it to gain more and more momentum. Later on in the war we got moving on to the stage of strategic stalemate. Now what strategic stalemate is when neither side has the upper hand. It's when you're trading, each side has equal number of victories and losses. Not necessarily an equal number, but the government or the power that the insurgencies are rising up against no longer maintains the upper hand and isn't squishing the rebellion, and they're kind of at this state of limbo of, okay, this could go either way. The government could get their stuff together and then destroy the insurgency, or the insurgency could move on to the next phase given that they have the right amount of resources and the right amount of movement. If the insurgency can't get the right amount of resources and the right amount of movement, we then move to strategic offense. Strategic offense, for the Revolutionary War's sake, is when we get to the Battle of Yorktown, when the Americans dealt a huge crushing blow to the British. We switched from our guerrilla irregular warfare tactics and then moved on to more conventional tactics. Once strategic offense happens, it's a very bad day for the government, and if strategic offense is successful, then it's only a matter of time before the government falls. However, you have to be extremely careful when moving from strategic stalemate to strategic offense. Because if you move at the wrong time, then you risk completely destroying your insurgency if you do not have enough power. An example of this is Tet. The North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong attempted to move from their strategic stalemate to strategic offense too soon, and while, according to the news sources, Tet was a complete disaster for the Americans and when you're looking at paper, but in reality it was a huge crushing defeat for the Viet Cong. They lost countless numbers of men, material, and they never fully recovered from that offensive in terms of a military sense. However, political is a whole other story, and you can talk to your poli-sci instructors about that. So those are Mao's 3 stages of protracted warfare. Something else that you guys should be aware of is Lawrence of Arabia. He was a British officer that was sent down in World War I and basically not single-handedly, but raised an army of Arabs and overthrew the Ottoman Empire and defeated a huge enemy to the Allies and a huge ally of the Central Powers, which helped the Allies win World War I. Basically, Lawrence of Arabia also had 3 principles of irregular warfare. First one was called algebraic. Basically, land, you need a lot of troops in order to occupy land, and as a result you only have a limited number of troops, so you have to spread those troops out as wide as you possibly can. The larger your empire, the larger your army has to be in order to keep your area defended. The next area he had was biological. This is what he called the organelles of the army. This is your supply lines. This is your reinforcements. This is your R&R. This is everything that your army needs to function. So what he would do in order to attack this is he would blow up railroads, blow up gun emplacements, destroy supply caches, that kind of thing, so that way the army would starve and he wouldn't have to fight a single soldier. All he'd have to do is destroy their way of getting supplies, and eventually they would just crumble because they didn't have enough food. And the last one is psychological. That's the morale of an insurgency. An insurgency isn't like fighting a normal army. They have families, they have jobs, and they're my primary profession is not that of a soldier. They're only doing it for a certain cause that they feel is just enough for them to take up arms in order to fight against. Which then leads us to the most important part of this entire lesson. All insurgencies and all irregular warfare are centered around the population. Whoever can win the hearts and minds of the population is going to be able to win that insurgency, is either going to be able to defeat the insurgency or is going to be able to have their insurgency be successful. It all rests on the population. So that's it for today's video. Be sure to check out the reading just so you guys can kind of see how air power can apply to these different topics, and also just kind of think about how could you use air power to attack the organelles of an insurgency of a government, or better yet, like how could we use air power in order to help stop an insurgency. Have a great day, guys, and don't forget to spread air power throughout this university.